Here we are. Here we are live on location. You know, this online internet stuff is a trip. I've been trying to get ready for this live stream for like 30 minutes, and there's a lot going on. I would like to talk about the American Music Awards. I don't know if you watched last night, but I did. I watched live, just like we're live on location here. And I have thoughts. I figured this would be the best arena to get my thoughts out. If you're new to the Malcolm Stories channel, click subscribe down below. This is obviously where we celebrate everything beautiful, fabulous, and a little ridiculous. I am not very accustomed to going live. This is something that I'm now newly introducing to my channel, which I'm excited about, but I haven't been putting out as much content as I would like as I have over the past few years. But this Memorial Day weekend actually marked my 5-year anniversary on YouTube, which is crazy. But since it's been 5 years, I figured that I would bring this live stream to life with a proper conversation. And like I said, as you can see, the conversation is about the American Music Awards. Before I get to Janet, though, before we get to Janet Jackson, because I've done several videos on Janet on my channel, I've professed my love for Janet. I've also professed my sincere belief that Janet Jackson is the queen of pop. So because I feel comfortable in that stance, and because I feel so passionate about pop music and pop culture, I figured we'd just do a little recap because I would like to discuss some things. So again, if you're new to the channel, I like to keep it candid. I like to keep it cool. I like to keep it creative. But I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be as brutally honest as I possibly can. So before we get to the conversation about Janet, I want to talk about J-Lo. We're going to talk about J-Lo because Jennifer Lopez was the host of the evening and opened the show with a medley of American music hits, right? She also did this 10 years ago. I believe it was 2015 when she did a medley wearing the Balmain catsuit. It was actually a fabulous performance. And so this kind of recreated that vibe of delivering what J-Lo delivers well. She obviously looked fabulous. One thing I'm never going to take away from Jennifer Lopez is that lady can dress. She looked absolutely fabulous. I think that this opening number could have been tweaked just a little bit. I mean, you know, what do I know? I'm just a black kid from Jersey, just spitballing here. But I did feel like the dress underneath this floral extravaganza moment could have complemented it a lot better. Her walk out was everything, though. I'm not even going to hold you. When she came out in this number was fabulous. But this was after the performance. And I do want to talk about the performance. Jennifer Lopez is a fabulous performer, right? We know her for many things at this point. Some positive, some negative. But one thing that I think I can be honest about is that I can appreciate a strong performer with strong stage presence, right? Again, she looked amazing. The long, sleek, straight hair. I think that the song choices were on point. I think the set was great. She seemed to have the highest budget performance of the evening, which I'll also circle back on when I get to my thoughts on Janet, right? But J-Lo's opening number had a lot going on. You know, she had the glittery catsuit happening. The dancers were in their getups and the costumes. Jennifer Lopez has an interesting persona in the entertainment industry. I'll just put it that way. Why am I putting it that way? Because I feel like people are now developing very strong opinions about Jennifer Lopez on either one end of the spectrum or the other. I feel like she's gotten to this point in her career where people either love her or hate her. Which is interesting because I don't think that I can say either one for me personally. I wouldn't say that I'm like a huge J-Lo stan, like I love her, but I also would never say that I hate someone who I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know this lady. All I know is about things that I read and things that I hear. But again, I think that J-Lo is a fabulous performer. At her big age of 50 something and getting up there in this sparkly typical catsuit with the bust down inches down the back, I was impressed. I'm not gonna lie. Um the set list that they put together was really cool. I loved the transitions between the songs. Just sonically, it was really fun to watch and fun to listen to see which songs they actually did use. I also thought it was interesting that there was only a very short, maybe 3-second snippet of a Beyonce song. Um, Overall, I thought the performance was impressive. Now, the problem is we get to moments like these where now there's a queer baiting conversation happening, right? So in the middle of the performance, she starts like making out with a couple of her dancers. I don't know if you would call it a makeout. I don't know where your standards lie in the that realm of intimacy, but lips were locking, lips were touched. She kissed a female dancer, she kissed a male dancer. The camera was panning. It was like creating this whole moment, I guess. I didn't really think much of it in the moment because if I'm being completely honest, ever since Madonna kissed Britney, I feel like the pop star moment of making out with someone on stage is going to be inevitable. We can even take it back further to when Janet was on stage making out with backup dancers, making out with guys from the audience. It's just it's a moment. Um I don't think that the way that she executed it was necessarily like going to be this big iconic moment. Ironically, it's actually now doing the opposite. So now there's a queer baiting conversation of, was she doing this for attention and she's seeking this kind of approval from queer people and I am a proud queer as hell person. Um I definitely put the G in LGBTQ. Know that. um when I saw it, I just said, okay, what's the next song? It wasn't like some iconic moment, but now it's causing all this controversy, and to me that was like the least interesting part of this performance. When she got to the Charlie XCX with the hair, I'm not gonna lie, that was everything, because the hair in itself was everything. And this is just me coming from a place of honesty. Um, do I think that Jennifer Lopez is the person who should have been hosting this? Probably. I don't think that they honestly had a bigger star who was even there, let alone who who would have the tenure and the energy and the commitment to be able to host like she does. She did several different looks. We like seeing the outfit changes. We always want to see what she looks like. I feel like as a hostess, she delivered what she was supposed to deliver, right? Um, but a lot of people are not here for J-Lo right now. I don't really know specifically what it is. If you would like to give your input, then please, by all means, leave your comments. I don't think that I can see them right now, but I can absolutely circle back. Oh, here they go. I can see the comments. So, Jennifer Lopez to me is always going to do what Jennifer Lopez is going to do. I think that she delivered a very impressive performance. There was a lot of choreography in that performance. If you go and watch it back, you have to admit to yourself that that was a lot of choreography to commit to. So for that alone, I will give her brownie points because she did numerous songs, snippets of songs, but there were a lot of different moments. She had her salsa Latina, okay, moment that she's always going to have. She even expanded on the choreography that she usually does when she does her Mi Gente moment. She got flipped upside down. There was a backflip. She did about like 3 lifts in a row. Very like not easy lifts. And she only had about 3 dancers with her at the time. So the amount of rehearsals that go into a performance like this are what I think about when I see performances like this. Lots of rehearsals, okay? You don't just get up and put on a shake and go wig and do a performance like that. So I'm just going to leave that there because to me, it was an impressive performance. Were there moments that were definitely not needed? Absolutely. I would have cut, and again, I'm not Lorianne Gibson. I'm not the superior, supreme authority on live performances, but there were a couple things that we didn't need. First and foremost, we don't need to hear you sing, Jennifer. I'm sorry. And it's no shade, but the beginning singing montage, doing dance again was actually a smart move because you're segueing into the dance, and that's what we're here to see you do. I didn't need the vocal montage. I didn't need the vocal production. I don't think I ever need a vocal montage from Jennifer Lopez. I need the looks, I need the costumes, I need the glam, and I need the choreography. And to be honest, I think that she delivered that, right? I mean, what else are we looking for here? So, J-Lo, you're always gonna be J-Lo. And I thought that it was a decent job. Now, we have to first acknowledge that Jennifer Lopez is one of the direct descendants of a Janet Jackson. I like that even when she introduced Janet, J-Lo even acknowledged that she was in the music video, That's the Way Love Goes, wasn't it? I think that's the video that J-Lo was in. J-Lo, Beyonce, Britney, any of our top female performers in the music industry who take dance and choreography seriously are here because of Janet Jackson. And that's just a fact. I've said it before on my channel. I've done several videos on Janet. I will always say it again. She is the queen of pop. Now, that's no disrespect to anybody else in the industry who you admire, who you idolize, who you feel like has earned the title and the crown of queen of pop. No disrespect to any of them. In my world that I live in, you may find it delusional, you may find it inaccurate. Janet Jackson is the queen of pop. And on the Malcolm Stories channel, I'm going to stand on that 10 toes down every single time. So Janet Jackson receiving the Icon Award was overdue, was iconic, absolutely. I just found it interesting to see her finally get her flowers at this award show. And it's no shade. The American Music Awards aren't exactly the most prolific and most exciting award show that everybody's tuned in for, leaning in on the couch waiting to see what's going to happen. It's not the VMAs, it's not the Grammys, but it is a big platform. It is a big stage. It is live on location from Las Vegas, okay? So this is a huge televised moment for a living legend to finally get the acknowledgement that she deserves. She hasn't performed on live television in 7 years. They kept repeating that. Her first live performance in 7 years, her first TV performance in 7 years. She's been touring for years. I mean, she's been performing. But for this to be her first live TV performance in 7 years, I felt anticipation. I obviously felt excitement. I didn't know what the vibe was going to be. I have a friend of mine who had some information from the creative director that this was going to be kind of like a different approach for Janet. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what to expect, right? And so, Janet is one of the most electrifying live performers that have ever performed on a stage anywhere. She has this glow, she has this energy about her. And her music obviously is so iconic. And what I think happened here was they wanted to create a moment for the viral songs, the current songs that maybe the younger kids, who are on TikTok and not 35 years old like I am, the songs that they find catchy and the ones that are catching on TikTok right now. So she started with Someone to Call My Lover. Someone to Call My Lover is an iconic Janet Jackson song. It has recently picked up traction online and on TikTok because these kids like to do these TikTok dances. And when they hear something cute and catchy, now they're lip syncing it. And now they're going to the Trader Joe's and making videos, with the new catchy song, right? But this song is decades old at this point. Still a hit, still very much a bop. But she does the first verse and then she goes into the bridge and then she's doing the second verse. And I'm just wondering to myself, like, well, why? They kept calling it a medley performance. So I was just curious where the medley was. Now J-Lo did a medley. Now that is what you call a medley. But that was like a whole nother moment. That was like a 12-minute set. Like, it was crazy. Janet's performance felt very safe to me. Now, she's also a woman of a particular age. This is also the American Music Awards. It's not the Super Bowl halftime show, which I still believe that she deserves to get the opportunity to get back on and show what she can do. But again, maybe that's not on the cards. Maybe that's never going to happen. I've done a video about that very topic on my channel. I reacted to her actual halftime show performance. It was very dramatic because that's who I am authentically. But this performance to me felt safe, which again is fine. Look, she looked amazing. She's wearing vêtements, okay? She gave you a street style high fashion moment. The hair is there. The face is on. She also sounded amazing. She was definitely singing live and her voice was very strong to me. It's not like she's one of the strongest vocalists we've ever heard in our life, but Janet gives you impressive quality performance. Hello? Every single time. You're going to get your money's worth. I'm really upset that I never saw her in Vegas, actually, because seeing Janet Jackson in Las Vegas is something that I feel like would fulfill my personal creative and professional endeavors. The performance overall to me was good. We love watching Janet perform. We love seeing Janet on stage. She looks amazing. But she goes from Someone to Call My Lover and she goes into All For You, classic, a hit, a Janet Jackson staple, right? She starts snapping and clapping and I hear everything lived. Love for an All For You moment. I love that for her. Killed the choreography. Janet's not going to miss a beat. She's not going to miss a step. So if that's what you're waiting to see, it's not going to happen. Okay. Now, after All For You, the performance was done. So I'm sitting there thinking, okay, so she's only doing, so the performance was 2 songs. Now, she was fabulous. She also wasn't as out of breath after her performance as J-Lo was after hers, because J-Lo came out to open the show after her performance and she could barely breathe trying to introduce Tiffany Haddish. I was like, girl, take a breath. Somebody get her a sip of water. Janet was composed, cool, calm, collected. The mug was still on. The makeup was still done. A quintessential professional in the industry. Now, why do I say that she deserves more? Because this just felt so long overdue. I honestly feel like Janet Jackson may never get the true acknowledgement and flowers that she deserves. And I was talking about this with my brother yesterday. I think the reason for that goes all the way back to the Super Bowl scandal. Even though we don't talk about it as much, even though it was so long ago, over 20 years ago at this point, that moment in her career was so pivotal and it created so much tension and drama and controversy. She was essentially blackballed from the industry. She started doing movies. She called up Tyler Perry and said, please let me do something else, which made a lot of sense because a lot of people tried to create this narrative around this woman like she isn't a legendary icon who is influencing almost every pop music artist to come after her. And so now it's 2025, Memorial Day weekend, and we're honoring Janet Jackson. And to me, more could have been done. I love that Janet performed. For me, I would have loved for her to, she could have maybe done one number, something really cute and really quaint. I would love to see a tribute performance from some other artists at this point. iHeartRadio just did a really nice Mariah Carey tribute. Tori Kelly performed. There were some other really good singers that they got. I think we're at the point where I would like to see Janet, just stay in the front row maybe and let Normani come out and do a Janet number. Sierra was there right at the award show looking beautiful. That would have been fabulous. Yeah, I brought this up earlier. The fact that Gil wanted to keep the number simple. She has nothing else to prove. I completely agree with that. The CBS relationship is also a great call out. Again, I was just saying this is the American Music Awards, and listen, she's a woman of a particular age. I'm not looking for her to come out and do So Excited. I'm not looking for her to come out and do All Night or climb on top of a man on a structure in a leather vinyl catsuit. You know what I mean? Like I can keep it realistic, right? But in my opinion, I just think creatively it could have been more of a medley. They kept calling it a medley. I'm like, doing two songs is not, it's not a medley. I'm like, where's the mix? Where's the boom, boom? I'm like, there were hits missing in the music. I was like, I do understand keeping it simple. The aesthetic was very clean. I like that there weren't, a whole lot of dancers. It doesn't have to be the biggest production in the world. Again, woman of a particular age, still fabulous, can still move, but I'm not looking for her to do her most high octane numbers, but I think like if we're going to call it a medley, we can start with a slow jam. We can work our way into Someone to Call My Lover. We can throw the If dance break in there, But, again, the CBS call out is a great call out. Jean Mateo, your name is also fabulous. I love that name. Fabulous. I feel like, I'm still, and I'm just going to say this because I'm trying to be an honest and candid person, right? And I run my channel off of honesty and a little bit of drama, but I'm still waiting for the tribute performance of Scream. I just saw, I believe it's the former president of BET now. He was kind of dancing around his words, but he was trying to explain why the Chris Brown and Sierra tribute performance to Michael and Janet was ultimately canceled. This was some years ago. I believe it might have been the American Music Awards as well, maybe Billboard. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I've been advocating for this for some time. Why? Because Scream is the most iconic musical duet that has ever been recorded, performed, put out there, whatever you want to call it, right? Now, that's just my opinion, but I'm standing on it. Scream and When You Believe by Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey are the two best musical duets that have ever been produced. Scream is also the most expensive music video that's ever been created, directed, I believe till this day, right? So one could say Maybe you don't want to think about the money that gives it the hype, but one could say that Scream is the most iconic music video of all time. It's Michael and Janet Jackson. So for me, I'm like, when we're tributing Janet, we're honoring Janet. Maybe she didn't need to perform at this. Now, I always enjoy seeing Janet perform, but for me, just being honest, I'm watching it and thinking like, did we need it? Did we need this? She's still touring. She's still doing little residencies here and there. I feel like for this stage and this award show, maybe we should have just had Sierra do. Now she's done. Sierra did a great Janet tribute performance at the BET Awards, I believe. This was also several years ago. It was Sierra, Tinashe, and Jason Derulo ended up joining her. Now that's another conversation. Tinashe, fabulous. I love that idea, but yeah, I wouldn't have picked that exact lineup. I'll just put it that way. But I think the American Music Awards did something unprecedented because for some reason, this lady still doesn't get the flowers that she deserves. She just doesn't. I think it was lovely even having Tasha Smith introduce her, who looked fabulous. I love that she did like a menswear inspired look. It seemed just very like paying homage to Janet. Again, I love what she wore. I love how she sounded. She sounded great. I feel like when we say tributes and we say icon awards, I want a production. I want to hear boom, boom, boom. Oh no, that's not that is not a Janet song. But you know what I'm saying? Bring someone out and have them kill it. And let Janet just take the night off. I mean, why did she even have to perform? If she wanted to, then that's fine. But Gil has done some great work across the board, not just for Janet Jackson, but for many prolific pop artists in the industry. But I think we could have reworked the concept a little bit. I think we could have amplified the moment even more. J-Lo's performance had a higher budget than Janet's. J-Lo had space intergalactic accessories and more dancers and more lighting effects and more. Now again, I understand, the idea for Janet was to keep it simple anyway. And now listen, because also in terms of wardrobe, keeping it oversized and Vetements and baggy, probably a smart decision, because one thing we're not going to do is circle back to the 2000s when y'all tried to villainize this woman thinking that she was trying to do a nip slip on purpose, which is absolutely absurd. Can I just say that as well? Not to be so retroactive and go back in the past. And I've talked about this on my channel before, but I never understood how people thought that she really did that Super Bowl halftime little moment on purpose. I never understood that, because you can literally see the look in her face when it happens that she is aghast by what has just transpired. When that white man pulled that, you're like, okay, I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna, but yeah, Janet, she's working the residency. That's a very good point, Jean Mateo. She probably didn't want to give away a free show. Very smart as well. Why give the people all of this material? Come see me in Vegas. Come see me in Abu Dhabi or wherever, Janet is still a performing artist. She is still active. But see, that's also why I'm like, did we need that? Or could we have put together a fabulous collection of artists, a Tiana Taylor, an Usher, speaking of which, Tiana did a fabulous Usher tribute performance at the BET Awards like a few years ago. Now I know it's different networks and different people and different scenarios, but I'm just like, I would love to see a real medley performance. And you know what? Because Janet is still a performing artist, very much so, and because we do love seeing her hit an A count really quick, what would have been really cool for me is if we put together a lovely group of dancing performing artists to do a medley of Janet's numbers, and then she comes out at the end and does if or some kind of feedback, you know what I mean, does just one number at the end, just to remind everybody, yeah, I'm only going to perform for 2.5 minutes. I'm only going to do one number, but I'm Janet Jackson, so I can do that. Now, all these little kids have done their little moments and their splits and their tricks and their high kicks, and I appreciate the homage, but then Janet comes out at the end of the performance, closes the show, closes the moment, and then accepts her lovely icon award. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? It just felt like all this buildup and anticipation. Oh, the first Janet Jackson live televised performance in 7 years. I'm like, okay, yeah, no, it was good. Love seeing her move. And let me tell you something, when All For You came on and she hit that iconic dance break and the lights went down, the cameras like panned out from the stage. Now, I don't know if we're still scared about something moving but she's covered up. I don't know. There were certain things about the performance that just weren't making sense for me. Even the opening of it where she's standing there with the dancers. You know, the set design was nice. I liked the Janet, but I'm just like, why did J-Lo's performance make me think she was getting the icon award and not this icon? Why was that? I mean, J-Lo was the host of the show. In my mind, again, I don't know that lady. I don't know anything, personal about her, but in my mind, J-Lo probably had a few more demands than Janet probably had. She's the host of the show. She has several wardrobe changes. J-Lo was like, oh, no. I need the strobe lights. I need the LEDs. I need people moving around. So maybe that's more of the case. But at the end of the day, I started this video out saying this, and I will say this until the end of time. There would be no J-Lo without Janet Jackson. And she knows that. I think anybody who can spell Jennifer Lopez or J-Lo for that matter knows that. I think we can all be honest, about that. Yeah, see, a lot of people have a lot of opinions about J-Lo. I just feel like when it comes to Janet Jackson, there has to be a level of quality. There has to be a level of decorum, but there also has to be a little drama. There also has a little extravagance. You know what I mean? I was just looking for a little extravagance, if that makes sense. But keeping things simple has never hurt anybody. It was very fun to watch still. I just wanted a little more of a medley, and I wanted a little more boom boom. Okay. I loved her acceptance speech. Beautiful job. I loved what she said just about, she was raised to just be good at what she did and to be a great performer. It was never about being famous. She obviously comes from a legacy family and a long legacy, and we just love Janet. It's just really refreshing that she is still here. She's still around. We can still admire, respect, celebrate, honor. We have to do all these things for people like this. Do you know how many of us gays live for some Janet Jackson? Now, is she perfect? I'm not saying that she's like this God image that we have to idolize and things of that nature. People get weird when you fan out too much over these celebrities. I'm just saying that if you're an appreciator of pop music like I am, if you're a lover of dance music, and if music has ever had any kind of impact on you and your life, then you understand like artists like this are just on a different pedestal. They're just a different breed. She's a Jackson. Now, there are other Jacksons as well who maybe have not had the same have not had the same impact, but hi, hello. We're live on location on the Malcolm Stories channel. I just wanted to come on here and give my thoughts quickly. The video will be up on the channel if you want to watch it back, but I was very happy that this happened for Janet. I was, because there have been a lot of, I think, missed opportunities and missed moments where we should have been honoring Janet. And somebody probably raised their hand at the network, or some hater sent an email to the CEO of the parent company and said, you know, she might be a liability, or you know, maybe she's not as relevant right now, whatever the case is. But the fact of the matter is the receipts are all here on YouTube, on Google, on Yahoo, on Bing, on Snapchat. Wherever you want to look, you will find the clear evidence that Janet Jackson is the queen of pop. And I will stand by that until the end of time. I got to see her live personally in Atlantic City on the Together Again tour, I think it was called. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Just one of the most talented live acts that we still have in this industry. You know, for me, as a pop music lover, as a music lover, I gravitate, you'll see this on my channel if you watch some of my other videos on music and pop culture. I gravitate towards artists who are either unbelievable singers or incredible dancers. And when you get both, you get Beyonce. And I'm just going to leave that there, because Beyonce is obviously a whole nother conversation. But what Janet has done specifically for artists like Beyonce, for artists like J-Lo, you know, and I get the opinions of all these other people too. You know, you don't have to be a fan, but when you see the careers of these people, when you see how Britney directly was influenced by Janet in her career coming up in the 2000s, and you know, Britney Spears became like the daughter of Janet. Now, I'm a Britney girl. Okay, we can circle back on that conversation another time. I did a video on Britney a few years ago on my channel, but the influence that somebody like this has is inspirational, because that's the type of influence that you want to have in your industry, whatever you do. You know, I work in the fashion industry. You could work at a sawmill, you know, if you're a teacher. Whatever it is that you do, you want to be able to make an impact, to have an influence, to master your craft, right? This woman has mastered the craft of live performance. She's made so many iconic songs, best-selling albums. So giving her the Icon Award to me was long overdue. I think they did a solid job. I just feel like it could have been done better. I feel like this, I wouldn't call it a missed opportunity. I just think there were opportunities for improvement. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. I watched it right on my couch. I was right at home watching it on the couch with my brother, and always excited to see Janet pop out and do her thing. But again, I'm just like, why is she on stage already? She should be coming down from a riser, okay? With a dramatic smoky entrance, you know? And again, I'm probably asking for too much, and I get the creative direction was meant to be simple, but I'm just like, why? And she's like off center too. I don't know. Opportunities for improvement. That's all I'm gonna say. You know, not every performance is gonna be the most stunning and spectacular thing you've ever seen in your life. She's absolutely the queen. And thank you, Zephyr, if I'm saying that right. I absolutely respect how Janet became the only other Jackson who emerged from Michael's shadow as a legitimate superstar, who could not only stand next to him, But I was telling my brother yesterday, he was gagged. Janet was outselling Michael at one point. If you saw her documentary on Lifetime, I did a reaction to the trailer on my channel around the time it came out. I think I did another video kind of like, I don't think I did a video reacting to it, but um, it was a very, very interesting documentary and very telling that at one point she was literally outselling Michael Jackson. And this is at the time when Michael was the artist of the world, and his baby sister came out and showed people what she was capable of. How inspiring is that? If you have an older sibling, whose shadow you've ever been in, or if you've ever been in any kind of situation where you may be the underdog or people may not expect you to be as talented as the next person, it's like you put in the work and you prove to people what your talents are and where that skill comes from. She's Janet Jackson. I'm sorry. There's just no other. There never will be another. My personal I guess awakening of the Janet Jackson brand was actually around the Demita Joe era, I want to say. I was like, I want to say like a teenager. Now, Velvet Rope is really, yeah. Velvet Rope is just a little before my time. I wasn't quite old enough to fully get into it when it was out. But as I circled back and retroactively studied more of Janet's material, Velvet Rope, absolutely iconic. The tour, I mean, it's iconic. You have to give iconic people iconic things. you know, I don't know any other artist who deserves an icon award at this stage more than Janet, and she's deserved it for about 10 to 15 years now. But I'm telling you, that Super Bowl thing, man, I really, to this day, I can't get over how negatively that really impacted her career. And it's such a shame because her talent is unmatched. It's unmatched. If you go and watch this woman's live performances, you'll get goosebumps. The types of energy that she brings to the stage is the type of energy you just don't see or feel on an average stage in an average performer. There's nothing average about this woman. There's nothing average. The puffer isn't average. The hair isn't average. The catalog isn't average. The catalog is actually crazy. Her catalog is actually ridiculous because Janet's one of those artists who has albums that you almost forget about or just like flew under the radar, i.e. Discipline. Hello? Because the Feedback era, that was around like '06, and that was a really good time in like R&B pop music too, because that's when Mariah came back with the Emancipation of Mimi. The Discipline album, Rock With You. Right? The Discipline album is one of those albums. Even the Unbreakable album. Isn't that the it was around like, oh God, I can't remember the year, maybe 2016 or 2017. But even when she came back out with the Unbreakable album, great album. Damn Baby is such a great dance record and a great dance music video. Just thinking about it makes me smile because it's just like, that's the type of star quality and the type of energy that you can't just give someone, that you can't just bestow upon someone, or just like, Discipline is absolutely crazy work. I'm telling you, people who know. And I feel like it's also our responsibility as the fans to continue educating and to continue reminding people of the catalog, of the performances, of the tours, of the iconic moments. J-Lo is over here trying to make out with background dancers to recreate an iconic moment, and it's like, girl. It's nowhere close. It's nowhere close. I'm sorry. And I give J-Lo credit as a great performer. I really do. But Janet did it first, honey. Sorry. Sorry. And she knows that. She knows that. I'm sure she knows that. The icon, Janet Jackson. I had to hop on here and go through my just immediate thoughts after watching last night, because as impressed as I was, I just wanted to cover some opportunities for improvement. If you've seen anything on my channel before, then you know how I feel about pop culture and all of our nostalgic icons in the music industry. I listen to some new artists and upcoming music on my channel here and there, but I'm always here for the nostalgia. I'm mostly known on YouTube for reacting to 90s fashion shows. And if you're watching this back, if you're subscribed to the channel, I'm sure that's what you're waiting for. Trust me, they're coming. I'm actually considering kind of shifting them to this live watching experience. So that's going to be interesting. If this is your first time here or seeing me, my name is Malcolm Soaries. I celebrate all things beautiful, fabulous, and a little ridiculous. I cover fashion, beauty, and pop culture on my channel. And if you subscribe, you will become a part of a lot of different moments. I really am grateful for my YouTube platform. If you didn't hear this before, this is actually my 5-year anniversary of being on YouTube. So this being my first long form live stream is very exciting for me. A little nerve wracking. I'm still trying to get the live producing. Like I'm literally doing all this stuff by myself. I'm doing all this. I'm just like, oh my gosh, the preparation of it all and doing all of this. I'm used to pre-recording. That's the thing. I'm used to pre-recording and editing, and I really enjoy editing. But my work schedule has been very interesting. I just started at a new job about 6 or 7 months ago, and it's a bit more demanding than I expected. So these live streams hopefully will be able to, oh, and you know what? I didn't know that I could do this. Discipline is crazy work. Jean Mateo, your comments are very much appreciated. I just realized that I could do this. So, you know, you guys will be with me along the ride of doing these live streams. It's fun. You know, I can sit here and yammer and hoot and holler for as long as you need. Oh, thank you so much. That's so nice. I was hoping that this would be something like fun and new and refreshing. It's definitely refreshing for me because I absolutely have a lot to learn about handling all of the ins and outs and the twerks and quirks of all of it, but I just really appreciate all of you guys who have fun with me and the commentary. I could sit and talk pop culture and pop music and fashion and beauty. Like, I'm very passionate about these topics, so I really appreciate that comment. I don't want to take up the rest of you guys' evening from wherever you're watching from. I'll say one more time, if you're not subscribed, then do that now, because in this next 5 years of YouTube, I'm very excited about the potential for the channel. I'm excited about just creating more content and sharing my passion with all of you. It's so much fun being on here. My first long live stream. I've been on here for 49 minutes. That's insane. And it went by so fast. I'm also starving. I got back from work and like just hopped on here to try to figure all this out and try to make this as engaging as possible, but I'm still learning, so bear with me. And thank you for all of you who are still on here. This is really cool to be able to have a live interactive moment with you. But yeah, this is the Malcolm Soaries channel. All hail Janet Jackson, the Queen of Pop. We will circle back as always, and hopefully I will see you in the next video, in the next experience, and in the next moment. Thanks, guys.